Hey guys, thank you for joining us today. We've got an amazing guest lined up for this afternoon, and I'm going to be chatting to a dear friend of mine, Adine Roode, and she's going to be chatting to us a little bit more about the work that she does here in South Africa with regards to elephants. So it's great to have you all jump on board and stay tuned, because I think we're going to be actually introduced to one of the most recent additions, who's a young elephant orphan, and we're really looking forward to meeting this little youngster. So Adine is currently based in Hoedspruit, which is pretty much on the other side of the country in terms of where I'm currently based in South Africa. And you might just have to bear with us as always, because often we're calling people who are working in quite remote parts of South Africa and around Africa. So we're just going to wait for her to request us and jump on live with us, which will be lots of fun. Let's see if we can find her somewhere. Here we go. Let's see if I can add her and jump on board. Again, guys, for those of you joining us, I see quite a few people tuning in. Oh, there you are. Hello, Adine.
Hi, James. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much for making the time, Adine. It looks like the most amazing day that side with those beautiful clouds and blue sky behind you. Sadly, I'm stuck at home, confined to my house. Where are you currently chatting to us from?
Yes, I'm actually out in the field, but close to the stables and the orphanage area. And we're just on our daily walk. From 2 o'clock.
Okay, awesome. The line's a little bad, but I think we'll manage to get through this. And let's just persevere. And guys, just bear with us, because, like I say, Adine is in the field, and we really did want to introduce you guys to some of the work she does in the field. So we'll crack on. I think, Adine, just in terms of an introduction, for those of you who don't know, Adine is the managing director of Jabulani Safari, and more recently, she's actually founded the first elephant orphanage in South Africa. So really exciting. And I know, Adine, you guys have quite a routine there, and I think maybe in terms of us trying to stick to your routine, let's start chatting a little bit about the orphanage. Initially, and how you actually started this orphanage, and maybe you can then introduce us to your very special friend.
Okay, no, thanks, James. Actually, it's since 2015, I started seeing a huge incline of incline of elephant orphans that needed help. And, everyone coming to us because of the Jabulani elephant herd, and, it's a social structure, and they already accepted elephant orphans. And, I had to really think how to do this, to do it really that it benefits the species at the end of the day. Because for every elephant orphan that you take in, it's a 60-year responsibility. And, they will really outlive me. So how will my business model work that this can be sustainable in the future as well, and also to do it ethically? You don't want to just take elephants from the wild, elephant orphans. I mean, they're freaking cute. Don't, get me wrong. But it's a huge responsibility, because you also... they're cute when they arrive, they're about 70 kgs, but they turn out to be an elephant of 4 tons. And you have to really deal with, that massive animal to be able to be, also well balanced and not so habituated to humans to be a problem at the end of the day. So that's actually, how it started. So I started with what is my objectives, getting my management plan through. I've got some advisors on board which, you know, it helped me a lot, from veterinarians to pediatricians, clinical pathologists, also, you know, from a research perspective, you know, people that can contribute, because I don't know everything. You know, my background is in accountancy and I just have experience with animals. You know, so you also just have to basically step back and say, you know, what is the long-term plan of this? It can't be just, you know, like do it for now, and at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't, how can I say, contribute towards the species and the elephants. And, you know, elephants are our natural capital in South Africa. They're part of that. So they don't belong to me. They don't belong to any of us. So, yes, that is actually how it started. So it actually took me 4 years just to develop the strategy around it, the management plan to get that how can I say, approved by Department of Environmental Affairs, also working with, you know, alongside your norms and standards. And I think what makes it so special is really our Jabulani elephant herd, where they contribute towards the welfare of our little elephant orphans. You know, since we moved the elephant orphanage here to the stables, you know, I can just see how, you know, it contributes towards the little ones, but also towards the Jabulani herd. You know, they are all on contraception. You know, I don't want to breed with them. You don't want to breed with elephants in captivity. But it actually helps, you know, to the whole hierarchy and the social structure at the end of the day by accepting these orphans. You know, you've got the different social structures of babies, your juveniles, sub-adults, you know, adults as well as your bulls. So that as a whole is a huge assistance to me and the staff in the long run. You know, also your access to, you know, small things, fresh elephant dung that they have to eat, behavior, you know. So there's quite a lot. Sorry, I'm just googling and gathering how do you say that, on and on and on. But ask me questions, James.
No, no worries. I can hear the crowned lapwing in the background as well. Are giving you some
Yes.
hassles, but it's so nice to hear birds and see where you're currently talking to us from. So thanks for again taking the time. In terms of your routine, you know, I'll chat to you more about questions I have with you for you with regards to the orphanage. In terms of your routine, you said you were doing your afternoon walk. Tell us a little bit about what that entails, and maybe you can start introducing us, because I know we don't have too much time. You can start introducing us to this afternoon's exercise you had planned.
Okay. All right. So this is little Kanisa. There you go.
Wow.
So Kanisa is a albino elephant, and she arrived in January at the beginning of the year. And you'd actually, if I can just, you know what, I'm not sure how to switch this. Okay, otherwise I can
That's
show
fine.
you better. Is it fine like this?
No, no problem. Yeah,
And
absolutely. Look
sorry,
at that elephant.
if you see there next to her mouth,
Yes.
sorry, I just want to show you next to her mouth. Sorry, I fell at my own feet here. You'll see she's got scarrings. But I
Yes.
can't see what I'm showing you. Where she actually went, the snare went through her mouth, and it actually cut quite a bit. And you can also see a little ear where the snare cut off, you know, that bit of her ear. So she was really, where am I now?
Sorry, Adine, when you say a snare, just for those of us watching who don't know what a snare is, can you just give us kind of a bit of a better understanding as to what a snare is? Because strangely enough, a lot of people actually don't realize what a snare is.
Okay. All right. So basically, a snare is what poachers put out for wildlife. And you know, to catch wildlife in order to either eat them. So it's basically for poaching, or for rhinos and elephants, it's for their horns and tusks. So that is why, you know, she was actually caught in a snare, and it was for big game. And you know, she actually survived that whole snare. She got herself out, and you know, arrived here And, so had the snaring as an orphan, and she was an albino. So you'll see she actually has, but she closes her eyes now for the sun, but she is, it's like bluish eyes.
Wow. Have you noticed those eyes are a little bit more sensitive because of the fact that she is an albino? Sorry, guys, we seem to be having just a little bit of technical difficulties. I said to you initially when we started this call, we were taking a bit of a risk with regards to the reception. So I'm sure we'll get Adine back. And I'm chatting to Adine Roode for those of you who have just joined us, and she is the managing director of Jabulani Safari. And we're talking also more about the first elephant orphanage that she's established here in South Africa.
Okay, sorry, I'm back. I'm going to.
Okay, awesome. We lost you for a while there.
Yes, sorry. I've walked here. Usually I've got connection here. I don't know where. Okay, but there they are in the background. I'll show you that because I don't want.
Okay, no, that's much better.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so sure, she was caught in this snare.
You were saying. Yeah, sorry. So you were saying, so she was caught in a snare, which is obviously like a wire noose, which tightens, with pressure as an animal walks through it. And, sadly,
like hanging.
Exactly. And sadly, this is a way, tragically, a lot of animals die in Africa, around the world, a very slow, staggering death. But you were also saying she's an albino. And were you saying that that has some kind of effect on her eyesight because of those blue eyes?
Yes. Sorry, now I'm losing also connection. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah, so on her eyesight as well. Sorry. Okay.
Got you.
So it's actually beautiful that blue eyes, but you can see she can't always see, and she walk into stuff. So you actually have to think for her while she's out, and when you get to an obstacle, I say to her, easy my girl, then she knows, and she will walk a little bit slower. And I see, so what we started doing now during the whole corona thing is to introduce her. But the introduction, I have to think about the future as well. And actually this whole corona, worked out in a way much better, by introducing her over a few weeks to the other elephants. And slowly build up a routine, because everything that you do now is also for future orphans, for the herd to accept her, but also know that she's going back to the orphanage to sleep. Luckily she's now healthy, and we all her wounds here healed amazingly well, and just for them. Sorry, you can hear the impala as well. They ranting around here. But just to really build a routine for the elephant, that the adult elephants know that the little ones go back to the orphanage and it's fine. They will join, the next day. So the allo mothers are just amazing with them. I've actually tried different mothers now, because we've got a matriarch that's accepting all the other orphans. But I try to build up the confidence of other elephant females, of cows, that also had babies, so they know how to breastfeed, or to latch onto the nipple, because we've got one that's really keen, on getting actually two to get her on the nipple, but they don't know how. They don't know how to do that. So it's actually very cute to see that, but it will take time. But in the meantime, building on how can I say, strong female team as well to assist this. So looking in the long run, people will ask me, but why don't you just release these elephants? For me, I will actually say it is inhumane to release them just like this, because you look at South Africa, and it's a very dense tourist areas, and it's much different than the rest of Africa. So you can't just release. Releasing elephants like this, they will move into areas where there's humans, because they do know humans, and then they will contribute towards your human-animal conflict. And then they're a problem elephant as well. So, looking in the long run is to really build a stable social structure of elephants. And once a herd is big enough that they will split naturally. And, that will tell me over time. I don't have the answers right now. I might think, this one of this one, this is how they will split, but I don't have the answers to that. But once that happens, then you can reintegrate one herd, one part of the herd into different area, and basically release them. But I call it more reintegration into existing systems. Because you have to break any bond with humans, and it won't be a touristic area where you will do such reintegrations.
And so what you're saying is that with this young orphaned elephant who's obviously lost its mother and the rest of the herd, most people, I think, realize that animals are social, these elephants are incredibly social animals. And what you've been doing during the lockdown is actually slowly introducing this young orphan to the rest of the Jabulani herd in the hope that they will adopt this elephant as kind of one of their own?
Correct. Yes, correct. And then also, built through that system. So, she's healthy, and, she got through all this trauma, and she's very, stable. But once you have a baby elephant that might have diarrhea, once you actually have diarrhea, that you can lose a baby in a short while. I'm talking about 8 hours. You'll think, the one day they're fine, and the next day they're not there. So it really happens very fast. But for me, putting them still with the bigger elephants, which will contribute towards their well-being, because they've got to they miss out on their families. So it's a lot of trauma and stress on them. And by having this adoptive family, in a way, you kind of reduce that trauma. But they also have the carers. You'll actually see, some of the carers that's with her, and also swapping shifts now. And then, Stefan just helped me because we're still in a big 5 game area. And as you can see, we've got a sheep with at the moment.
Lummy, I thought I recognized her.
Yeah, so that's little Lummy. And she actually helped us raise quite a few, from rhinos to elephants. She's got a tar road to heaven. Okay, she doesn't know she's in sheep. She thinks she's great, and either if she looks in the mirror and she'll really have a heart attack. Okay, see, sometimes she likes, because sometimes we actually Andre some rhinos that we release, and you'll see them. And Lummy will look like she'll stare, and it's like, okay, where do I need to go? But basically, why Lummy is there, why we've got a sheep, is that she's the first entrance, of the entrance, not entrance, like now, she's grazing. So it helps Kanisa to see what to eat, how to eat, I learn, if I teach her, try to teach her how to shovel out, some roots and stuff and what to eat. But that's also where your herd contribute. So in the mornings, with the walks in the mornings, you can really see she puts her trunk into their mouth, and then she smells. And stuff that I gave her that she didn't eat before, now if I give it to her, she actually takes it.
Amazing.
She understands. So it's actually just amazing to see them. And one of these, so she's kind of basically introduced to how can I say, the herd in sections. Also just for her, not to have such a shock to have 16 elephants all around her, just to bond kind of with females. So I've started now with the matriarch as well, which I kept to the last in order to grow the other ellies, or the mothers, the cows. And but then she'll stay out longer and longer in the field, until she can stay out a whole day. And that's what I'm saying, it's just to build routine. And now, it broke my heart, to actually split them. But it's not because you can't go out now, but it's kind of looking at the future. If you do have a sick elephant that won't be able, to do a whole day, but they still need just that, 2 hours that is, like a comfy blanket basically for them as well.
Thanks, Adine. Guys, I see some questions coming in, and we'll definitely get to your questions at the end. Thanks for sending them through. And if anyone else has got questions, please don't hesitate to ask Adine, and we'll try and get to as many of them as we can. Listen to those birds, my goodness. But I think if you could also just give us a bit of an idea, Adine. I mean, I know you, and I've known you for a long time now, and I've seen how dedicated you are to working and rehabilitating wildlife. But I also have seen how tough it can be, in terms of the amount of work that goes into it, the fact that you need to be on standby 24 hours, and the fact that it isn't always easy in terms of things going the way of these particular animals. We aren't always able to help them. Tell us a little bit more about this particular scenario with regards to getting the call to go and rescue this young orphan, and what did it? I mean, look at this animal. You were showing us obviously close-ups of this young orphaned elephant. For those of you who've just joined us, it's actually pictured just behind us over here, and it's a young albino elephant calf. And Adine rescued this animal. I don't know when did you rescue this animal, Adine, and how did you manage to get him back into such great health?
Okay, so basically it happened in January. To be honest, I was on family, holiday, and when I got the call, and they wanted to bring her to me, but she was in another province. So how it works, is actually you have to have. Sorry, if I'm too far, sorry, I just need to.
That's perfect. Your audio is great, and we can see we can see young Kanyisa really clearly now. So fantastic.
Okay, so when I got the call, I was on my with my kids on a family holiday, and the main thing as well is to get a calf like this, in a stable environment as soon as possible, and also on the right milk formula. Once you give a wrong milk formula, you will actually lose the calf. She starts with diarrhea as well as the stress. So you don't want to try and settle it in one place. It's double trauma for such a calf. And
we're losing you a little bit, Adine. You might have to find that last spot that you had positioned yourself in. Yeah, no worries. But
sorry.
Thanks for that closer visual.
Yes. So basically, left everything behind, and my kids had to pack up and return the next week. But I came straight through, got my team to pack everything. We went through, stabilize it, and the option was there of the veterinarian, the rehabilitation center, to keep it there. But as I said, it's the easiest to stabilize it. Also your connection that they form with their carers. Once it's like, people will ask me if I can come and volunteer, but unfortunately that's very difficult, because they've got a bond with somebody, and every time a person leaves, they break that bond again, and for them it's traumatic. So you must have a core team that's strong enough that can handle the hours, because it's long hours, especially also in the beginning. Bear in mind, she's on every 2-hour milk. I'm trying to get her now to a 3-hour shift, so she's moving, slowly to 2.5 hours. And that is during the night as well, because they do feed frequently from their mother. So actually, if you can do it an hourly, it's actually even better, but that's kind of hard. So anyway, I sent my team down, with the milk, as 2 carers, plus the curator, met them there, and we actually, the option was there to fly her, which would be much quicker, but then you had to drive load her in a helicopter, fly. And it was just, too much of a hassle, and taking into account all that time, I just decided, it's best to load her in my car. You've got one temperature that you keep, and that is what I've basically did. And, we traveled with her, and once we arrived here at the orphanage, it was late evening, it was about 9 o'clock. And, I just stabilized her. The next morning, I came and I was only started then with, I'm going to say, taking her out and, let her explore the new environment. But sometimes it takes a calf, it takes you even 4 or 5 days, few days, really depending on what they went through as well, and what is their willpower. So she was in the bush for about 6 days on her own with the snare around her neck. So I don't know what trauma she went through, but she just had the will to live. I mean, that trauma, she had this snares go through here, and, it was through, and you could feel the tusks, not the tusks, sorry, the tooth, through, if you put your finger through. And later, that whole flesh in the middle, because it was two pieces of snare, died. It was like, it looked like biltong. So we had to cut that out and stitch it together. So that's what, she looks as like if she's got a permanent smile actually on her face. So all of that, she couldn't take the bottle immediately because it was just too sore to drink. But if you had to kind of experiment until you get the right entry point into her mouth, and then she'd take the tea. But it really took hours and hours, and so it's not an easy.
We're sorry to interrupt. We're losing you again a little bit, Adine. Okay. There we go. That seems to be a bit better.
Okay.
Sorry, you were saying that we got you.
Okay. So it really takes a lot of time, a lot of input. It's not an easy process, and you can't give up. It's like a pregnancy, you have to go full out. You can't stop anywhere in between. And I think it's just that dedication, and that's where I need, good staff as well to assist me. In that process, so how to do the milk, because it changes. I don't have a fixed recipe. People will ask me the recipe, but it changes from age to age. It changes from elephant to elephant, and it's really on at this stage for me, on experience. If I see some dung that looks different, I'll change. So, I basically write down everything in order to have a research paper at the end of the day and contribute, that people can follow, what I've been doing. Sorry, you wanted to ask?
No worries. I mean, you're explaining yourself so well that there's not much need for questions. But I guess with regards to people understanding why we need to set up your orphanages, or specifically elephant orphanages in Africa, we've got two major issues: human-wildlife conflict and, of course, poaching. This was obviously the first elephant at herd. What is the future? What is the future for herd? What is your vision with regards to possibly looking after and rehabilitating more elephants to come?
Sorry, I lost you there, James. What is there of more elephants to come? Sorry, I'm looking for if I've got better signal.
I guess the question is, we've got a big issue in Africa with regards to losing elephants to human-wildlife conflict and poaching. With regards to herd, obviously it's the first elephant orphanage that has now been set up in South Africa. Do you expect to receive more elephants going forward?
Yes, I definitely foresee, more elephants to come. The ratio, of how it will increase, I don't know. but kind of to be ready, to have everything ready for what is to come, and that is also if I because I've been involved with the rhinos as well, comparing that, rhinos, you've got quite a lot of orphanages, and it's fun because you're spreading your risk all over South Africa. Looking at elephants, you're looking once again back at your social structure, which plays such a huge role, and also the lifespan of an elephant, because the elephants, turn about, they've got 6 sets of molars, so average, they will live for about 60 years, and that is, what you also need to take into account, once you start with this whole process. And I mean, at this stage, I'd also start with negotiations on release areas, that might take me 5 years, it might be 10 years, but there will be a time when I've got, I need space to reintegrate these elephants. And as I said, I've got them on a timeline, but I don't know if that will be 2 years or 5 years for me.
And Adine, there was a question that came through earlier that I think we should actually just look at addressing, because it's quite pertinent to what we were talking about and what you're doing during the lockdown time. And that was, you've been introducing this young orphan to the rest of the herd. How has that been? And is there a possibility of this youngster being rejected by the herd? What are some of your thoughts on that?
You know what? So far it's been going very well, but this is also my 5th orphan that I introduced to the herd, but that will be definitely for the future, to do it as I've been doing now. I might even go a little bit faster, but it also depends on the orphan. But I think you'll have a much better routine. The elephants do understand now, how the picture works of the orphanage. And I mean, just on the little one, Tamisa, that's 4 years old, and she's now the 2nd oldest. But how she was like in the beginning, she was like, okay, you're stealing all the attention now. And now she's very comfortable on, joining Kanisa. And it's, kind of, sweet. But yes, I definitely think, due to our animal-human conflict that is increasing, we'll see a lot more orphans that need help. And just on that topic, part of my objectives is to only take in orphans that is from animal-human conflict. You can't take orphans from the wild. You can't take it from their mothers. It's not what you stand for. The elephants need to be actually in the wild, and that is what I try to give them is as much freedom as what I can. So they browse on the reserve like wild elephants. They do have contact with the wild elephants. It is an option to release them here because you've got the land. However, due to all the tourism activities around, unfortunately, it won't be successful in the long run to do it in such an area. So, yeah. Sorry.
And Adine, has Kanyisa continued with her daily routine? Has she left us already?
Yeah, Kanisa, went back to the orphanage for a milk bottle. So she left, and I only have a hippo behind me. Okay, which I check out.
Yeah, just keep your eyes peeled behind you there. Well,
yes. So that's why I look around me. Okay, so sorry.
No, we realize you're coming to us from a rather unique area, and I think it's quite a novelty for most of us watching in our houses. So I also don't know what I've done. I'm relatively new to this Instagram live, but the reason why you can't see me is because I've done something silly this side, but I much prefer looking at your face interacting with this elephant than mine. I think now that we've left, or now that the young orphans left us, it'll be great to just chat a little bit more about, there's lots of questions coming through, and there's lots of people, just singing your praises. So, hats off to you. But I think just before we get to those questions, it'll be really great just to also talk a little bit more about, the history of the Jabulani herd as well, because, you've now started this, you're still with us.
Sorry, Jeff, I'm just going to move here.
Are you still? No worries. No, that's fine.
All right. So, sorry, can you hear me?
Did you hear the question?
I don't have great signal.
No, that's fine. We can hear you. Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. All right. So just from the Jabulani herd, Jabulani is actually the first elephant that arrived in 1997. So he and my son is basically the same age. And then there were elephants in Zimbabwe that were on a game farm. On a cattle farm, a cattle farm. And due to the land claims, the farmer couldn't, take care of them, and he had to evacuate his farm, and he didn't know where to go with the elephant. So Nature Conservation contacted us, or my mother at that stage, asked her if she will take in a herd of elephants. Of course, she took them in, that typical female. And as we tried to reintegrate Jabulani with the wild elephant on the reserve, however, that was about a 1.5 year, 18 months project, and not successful, as Jabulani wanted to stay with the humans, and actually became too dangerous for him to carry on with this introduction. And of course, everyone said no. They will take Jabulani to the zoos. Everyone wanted him, but we didn't want to send him to a zoo or to anyone else. He was used to his freedom on the reserve. And so the elephant herd arrived. My dad was still alive in 2002. And then my dad suddenly passed away in 2003. And my mum and I then, had to look at options in how to take care of, the elephants especially, because with them, all the carers came. So for each elephant, there's basically 1.5 to 2 elephant carers that came with them. And we decided then to build a lodge. And we named the lodge Jabulani after, our Jabulani elephant that we hand raised ourselves. And then we had more elephant orphans coming in. Kumbura arrived in 2009. And also in the beginning, we didn't know really what we're in for. So the females of the cows at that stage had a calf. And that was before we actually put them then on contraception. If I knew then what I'm doing now, I would have taken really milk samples of each phase, of the little ones, and used that now as research. But you didn't know, and you didn't think about, it at that stage. But that was actually, the start for Jabulani, and the lodge is really there in order to generate funding and look after the elephant. So that is what, at this stage, I still have all the carers. I can't really do without them. The lodge was easy. You lock down the lodge, everyone goes home. I switch off the geysers, the swimming pools, everything is switched off. But your elephants carry on. They still need lucerne to feed on. They still need to go out. They still need their carers. They sleep in stables during the night, just to ease us. But they are able to go out. We actually have some, bulls that will stroll out the night and they'll come back the next morning. Or sometimes we've got one that stayed away for 3 days before coming back. But they always so far, also returned, to the stable area. I think they're comfy there. They get food. It's like delivery service for them. And I think we're all, being in lockdown, and one that takeaways, this will be brilliant, for like, that's their takeaways. So yes, we clean the stables, actually start at 4:30 every morning. And then start, during the night. I've got somebody that stays with Kanisa. And then the introduction starts from 6 o'clock in the mornings, where I take Kanisa then to the herd. We go on our walk, and that is basically for the
Sorry to interrupt you, is that quite nerve-wracking for you, introducing little Kanisa to the herd? There must be quite a bit of anticipation from your side.
Yes, no, there was definitely. So I actually used Jabulani, which, strangely enough, I used the bull and Jabulani. And the reason for that is, for each elephant orphan that arrived, there was one bull that got attached to a little one. One was actually Sabakwe. He's also, I don't know, for those who drink Amarula, he's actually on all the Amarula adverts, and they call him the Amarula elephant. But he's huge as well. And he accepted the one orphan and Kumbura that arrived in 2009. And he was like, the one that she always ran to if there's trouble. And then Fishin is one of our elephant bulls as well. He broke his leg. And we had to keep him in the stables for about 6 months before he was, back on track. And then he was only back, with the herd once a week to go out on the reserve, because he had so much pain. That he just couldn't walk with them. But now he's totally healed and he goes out in the field. But he also had one calf. So that is therefore, I decided, okay, let me use Jabulani. He was actually very interested. He'll always come to the orphanage gate and have a look, what's going on. And just to have one at a time for her, also for size. You can just imagine, I think from my side, if I was a little elephant, sorry, there goes the queens again, you can hear them.
I don't think anyone's complaining. All the beautiful ambient sounds behind you. Wow.
Yeah, you sometimes take it for granted, it's a little bit of euphoria, I think, here. But so yes, it is definitely nerve-wracking every time, especially when I introduce, another new elephant or few elephants sometimes at this stage, how to see how they will behave. They're so big, they can do anything to her, and you've written so much, and if they hurt her, what will I do? And, will I get in the middle or whatever? So, yes, it definitely is nerve-wracking, that I have to admit. But, so far, so good. And there's nothing that I will change at this stage, from what I've experienced. But now we start to, how can I say, have the whole herd with her in the, the next few weeks, and then increase her time out in the bush. So there's still lots to do.
I can only imagine. And, for those of you who don't know Jabulani Safari, it's one of the most beautiful reserves. You can see where Adine's standing here at the moment, and there are a herd of elephants that she rescued from Zimbabwe, as well as founding a new elephant, or the only elephant orphanage here in South Africa. Adine, people come from all over the world to, spend time in the beautiful area that you're talking to us from, and witness beautiful wildlife, but they also come to learn more about elephants. I think it's a great way in which to educate people by introducing them to the Jabulani herd. You've had the question before with regards to why don't you just release the elephants, and why do you have to look after them? Because, I heard a staggering figure, which I think you spend close to 400,000, almost R500,000 a month having to look after these animals. So, why not release them, and why do they need to be looked after?
Just as, just to release them, now it's easy because, there's no tourists around. But, it is, most of these reserves in our area, and the Kruger itself is very touristic, as well as our communities around. And should you release them, they will become part of, once again, they will just return to the human-animal conflict we're sitting with. So, people that won't know, they've been hand raised by someone, that they're acquainted to humans, might either have a fright, with this elephant, because they will traverse on different areas, and they might have a fright and think it's a problem elephant, or they might push their boundaries as well, because the elephant is just, standing, and tourists always want to become closer. I sometimes say there's not really a problem animals, it's more problem humans. We create most of the problems that we have to rectify in a different way. And this is basically why you can't release them. Looking at different countries in Africa, you're sitting with different scenarios, but unfortunately in South Africa, we are fenced. We do have communities a lot around us, and so just release them. You need to have a perfect reserve without any tourism. And to be quite honest, going through this corona, we can't go without tourism and creating enough funding to look after our wildlife, and especially the kind of settings we've been dealing with.
I feel like I could talk to you for another hour, Dean, because, and there's so many questions coming through, and so many people singing your praises and the work that you do, both at Jabulani Safari and Herd. But I think just in terms of time, maybe one final question I have for you, and then we can maybe look at some of the questions. I see someone on behalf of Herd is answering some of the questions, which is fantastic. So thank you for that, because there are a lot that are coming through. But I think finally, we're reaching out to, people on the ground, and we realize, because we've worked with so many individuals in this space, that, like you say, without having the pillar of tourism, people like yourself and organizations like yours are really suffering. And it sounds like, obviously there's two entities, there's Jabulani Safari and there's Herd, but they work very closely together, and one kind of needs the other. So how can people support you during this very challenging time? People have asked, how can people get involved and support you that are watching you now?
I think, at this stage, even by fostering some of our individual elephants, we've got a foster page for, and, also donations in this corona stage. That will go very far, just to pay the guys that help me to buy the food and the rations for the guys. That would be great, if they can assist us. We do have all these pages, live, that my team did. But that would be very grateful. Even if you've got birthday, somebody, birthday coming up, and you can't reach out to go and buy something, why don't you do like fostering of an elephant that will go far away for us at this stage, and we're really grateful for that.
And you guys, I'd really encourage you to, to look at assisting where possible. I know it's a very, very tough time. We've put a link to Herd in both the Black Bean Productions and my bio, and I know Jabulani has put a link to Jabulani Safari, a link where you can assist and donate. So please go check those out. And you can also visit Herd and Hoedspruit. They have a YouTube channel. Follow them, reach out, and certainly see what you can do, because it would really, really help in a time like this. Adine, if you're happy, maybe we can get to some of the questions. There was a question that came in earlier, and that was your young elephant orphan actually found in this private reserve?
No, actually, she came from Mpumalanga Parks, and it is the southern side of the Kruger area that she came from.
And her sight, someone commented on her sight. Do you think it will deteriorate as she gets older? Obviously you were saying that she has some issues with regards to her sight.
You know what? I'm actually not so sure. You read up about albinos, but we do have an albino elephant on the reserve, and so she was born on the reserve. Her mum is a normal elephant, and she's about 11 years now. And she actually had a calf end of last year, which was again a normal elephant. But if I just watched the albino elephant that's now 10 years old on the reserve, she will actually, and she's normal color now, just her eyes are still light, her eyelashes, and then the point of her trunk and some of her toenails that is still pinkish. But she will actually walk straight onto a car without, and then all of a sudden she will realize. So I think it is something, I don't know if it will deteriorate or it will stay the same, but it is definitely light sensitive. Like the light is now, you can definitely see her eyesight is, increasing and better than during harsh daylight times.
Adine, there was someone who was wanting to hear a little bit more about your typical day. I don't think you ever have a typical day, knowing you.
No.
But what is your typical day like during lockdown, and has it differed from obviously when we're experiencing normality and we're not locked down? That's a question from Lisa.
Yes, my time now is, I wake up at 4:30. Usually I sleep a little bit later, okay? I don't have time for my mountain bike at all anymore. So then I come straight to, to the stables, and, you can just imagine 16 elephants, how much dung there are. And so we have to clean the stables, where they stay during the night, pick up all the old branches. Sorry, because we put some branches and banana grass which we grow. It's very close. It's very similar to sugar cane, the banana grass, but it's got lower sugar levels in. So anyway, so that, all the offcuts, everything that was not used during the night needs to be cleaned. We actually do a thorough wash of the stables once a week with chlorine and water. And I have to tell you, it's a whole trailer of a tractor trailer full of dung and old branches. Okay, so it's a good workout. All right, so that's actually how I started with Kanisa, because I had to clean the stables and she needed attention. So then I just took her with, and she got used to the tractor and actually to the stable areas, which we use now also in the morning for the first introduction. So then I realized, okay, she's now comfortable. It's nothing new for her. It's like a big playground in a way. So, yeah, okay. So that's kind of, that takes up the whole morning, and in between you have your milk feeds. Luckily, I've got Kinsani and Reply Back. I just had Herman during, the first lockdown. Period. But I sent him home now because it was long days for him as well. I mean, I can feel it on me now. But so it's long days. And then, the afternoon, you start 2:00, you start walking with Kanisa around. And then I usually meet at this time of the day, just meeting the bigger elephants when they're coming in. And, just spend some time with them as well. And then we also have the elephant swim middle of the day. So that's also just a good time for me, just to look at the behavior, especially now with the introduction. What is their behavior also towards me? Do they see me as a threat, or do they actually see me as one of them? Because you also, I don't know how they see me sometimes. So just to basic, analyze that, you take dung samples. Then we also, during, after you clean the stables, you need to cut branches. I started now for the carers to assist, because I don't have time for all the tourism webinars. So my team had to listen to all the webinars. It's not quite a miss for me, but I still need to know what's going outside, in the world. As I said, it's kind of euphoria. You just work. It's like, it's labor work, but it's nice. It's I get out. I don't have to be into. So there's so much to be to appreciate in life,
Mm.
and to spend this time, and I learned so much during this time as well, which I hope, I can put into good um, effort in the future. I don't know, sorry, how to say that in English now.
You say you've learned so much. There was an interesting question asking you if there's any one thing that you've learned from your elephants in terms of working with elephants. Have you actually learned anything that you can apply in your own life from these elephants you've worked with for so many years?
You know what? I definitely I learn still daily from them, also from their behavior towards each other, and just pulling that through to my own life, and how to work with people around me. I'm not the most talkative person though, but if you can just be as pure as they are, and what they stand for, and what how they go about. We've got so much to learn from them actually, and apply that in our behavior towards each other and towards other human beings and our families. I do learn quite a bit from them.
Oh, that's awesome, Adine. There are so many questions coming through, so I don't think we're going to get through all of these. I think I think what we just want to end off with is just thanking you for your hard work and dedication. And again, I would encourage you. I saw a couple of messages earlier whereby people were commenting and saying they're looking forward to coming to visit next year. And I think I'll just like to encourage people to do that. As being in the tourism industry, we really need the support of both our local and our international travelers. And certainly if you're looking for an awesome safari experience, Jabulani Safari is an amazing place. I can talk from experience. And at the same time, you obviously get to learn a lot more about elephants and interact with them, which I think is an absolutely fantastic experience. Adine, is there, again, I think for everyone watching, we'll also we have already put a link in both my bio and Black Bean Productions bio, and I know both Herd and Jabulani Safari has done the same, so please do go check that out. If people want to learn more about your work, Adine, is there also a website that we can follow?
Yes, if you can go through to Herd, our daily updates on how I go about introducing Kanisa is on Herd and Instagram and Facebook and the webpage as well, and then your Jabulani Safari. So I don't have my own stuff. Okay, I never post really on it. It's just, I always say, you come into life with nothing and you leave with nothing. So it's not about me. It's what I leave behind, and that must survive.
Awesome, Adine. And I see Herd Elephants has just posted the website. There's a link if you guys
Okay,
want to check that out. Adine, as always, it's been so awesome chatting. It's been a long time since we last hung out, and I remember our first meeting was actually during when we had that sudden spike in rhino poaching in the Kruger National Park, and you were opening your doors and looking after orphaned rhinos, and from looking after orphaned rhinos to now working with elephants, from myself and the rest of the Black Bean team, we wish you all the best, and all the success with regards to the amazing work you do, and yeah, hope to connect soon.
Okay. No, thanks, James. Thanks for having me, with you. And if there's any questions from anyone, more than welcome, send a DM to Herd, and, they will ask me and I will give them the answers as best as I can. Okay.
All right, awesome. And then what we'll do as well is we'll post this live onto our stories. So whoever missed out, or whoever knows someone who feels like they would be interested in supporting this awesome cause, or hearing more about Adine's story, you can follow them on my stories for the next 24 hours.
Okay. Thanks, James. Thanks for having me. Bye,
Awesome.
everyone. Thanks for listening. Okay. Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
Adine. Lots of
Bye.
love.
You too. Bye.